So I'm gonna do these lives. I get a lot of DMs on Instagram, and I can't respond to them all. And I really tried to commit to doing that, but I just can't. So I'm gonna try and do these Q&As and try and address as much as I can. But if I miss a DM, please just keep going, and I will eventually get to it. I'll do my absolute best. I'm also going to be doing this live on YouTube. So let's see, YouTube. So if I don't have a very big YouTube channel, I like the social element of Instagram, but I'm gonna put stuff onto YouTube as well, so that it's easier to skip around and things like that. So a couple of things. A lot of what the questions that came in were about censorship, so I want to address that. But I am not an expert on a lot of things. I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to the social psychology of tribalism and things like that. That stuff I think an expert. I think where I'm an expert is on like the culture wars in education. That's my area. But I think a lot of you are probably tapping into this because it's my process. So I'm going to share with you my thinking process, and maybe that will be something that'll help you guys. Because I think as an educator, I think what educators are supposed to be doing is learning alongside their students. They should know a little bit more than the students and then learn alongside them. So that's just like bringing into my process a little bit. Here we go. I'm trying to think if these are in any kind of order. Okay, so here we go. I'll just start with this one. Okay. Implications of Trump getting banned from Twitter. All right. Now, was Trump being divisive? Yeah, I mean, he was being divisive, and I think it's really dangerous to say that this is a stolen election when the evidence doesn't show that it was widespread enough to overturn it. Now, here's I think a good way to kind of understand this stuff. I have read a lot of the FBI crime statistics. I've read Roland Fryer's work. I've read a lot of work on the idea of racism in police departments. Okay. Is there racism in police departments? Yeah. Is it widespread enough to the point where, white cops are hunting down black men in the street and unarmed black men are being killed left and right in the streets? No. If you look at the numbers of how many unarmed black men who did not resist arrest were killed by police, it's single digits in a year. It's very small. Okay. But you get one video of that and you go, oh my God, this must be everywhere. And it feels like it's everywhere. So I think what happened was there are videos of specific things that maybe James O'Keefe from Project Veritas or someone like that you revealed, or someone saw, like someone take a Trump ballot, crumble it up, throw it away. Okay. Now what that is that's George Floyd with a knee on his neck, or that's Eric Gardner, saying I can't breathe. And all you need is one. All you need is one example to go, this might be widespread. So I actually see a lot of similarities here where each side says, we have clear proof that this is going on. And then they extrapolate from that. This must be very widespread. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But that's not good social science. You can't I have a few examples of some sort of injustice, so that means that the whole system is unjust. No, that's not that. You can't play that game. Okay. But both sides can be playing that. And Trump was playing that game the same way the Democrats play the game of, George Floyd dying with a knee on his neck. That happens all day, every day in every major American city. No, it doesn't. Okay. Statistically, it doesn't. And statistically, no, it doesn't look, there was some voter fraud, as there is typically voter fraud, but no, not necessarily widespread. So getting to the implications of Trump getting banned from Twitter, the thinking is if we shut him down, then he won't be able to radicalize people. I think it's a misstep. I've been saying this since the beginning. I think the whole reason why Trump got into office is people were unable to say, hey, I'm voting for Trump. Because people go, oh, you're a racist, sexist, homophobe? Let me hear about that. And instead, they just didn't want to say it. So they kept their mouth shut until they went to the polls. This is not the way to combat bad ideas. The answer to bad speech, I will give it that Trump did bad speech. I've been saying since the very beginning, the most dangerous thing about Trump is not his policies, it is his rhetoric. I've been saying that since the very beginning. Okay. It's his rhetoric. He has dangerous, unclear rhetoric. So You shut him down. The people who are storming the Capitol building they're not my aunt, like a nice elderly old lady who just has some conservative values and goes, I'm going to go more with Trump than Biden because it's more in line with my values, even though I'm a Christian and blah, blah, blah. Like really good ladies like that or good men. Like that's not who stormed the Capitol. The Capitol was stormed by people who were a little off, to say the least. Okay. Those people who have a persecution complex, think the deep state's out to get them, all that kind of stuff. This is just adding fuel to that fire. You're gonna say, there's this person has a persecution complex. Everyone's trying to silence us, and then they get silenced. And it's like, see, like I think that's a real problem. I think the answer to Trump is engaging with him, giving him a platform, sitting him down with someone on the other side and having actual dialogue and saying, all right, Donald Trump, show me the evidence that this is widespread. The same thing that I would say to someone who talks about widespread systemic racism in the police. Same thing. You follow the same rule set. I don't care. I don't care if you're left. I don't care if you're right. I don't care. I just think that you should be able to defend why you think what you think. So I think it's a misstep to ban Trump because the people that follow him are going to feel attacked and they're going to go underground, and that's where this stuff is going to get start to fester like mold. I think sunlight's the best disinfectant. That's why I always like to talk to everybody. My opinion on, can you talk about what happened at the Capitol? My opinion, I think that it's the rhetoric has been going out that if you believe in injustice, you can fight back. Martin Luther King said we have an obligation to not follow bad laws. And I agree because like segregation is a bad law. So Rosa Parks is like, no, I'm not going to move my seat. And then you just move the goalpost further and further and further to just my truth. I feel like I'm being discriminated against. So now I can respond to that. It wasn't like Rosa Parks' truth that she was being discriminated against. It was the law in Montgomery, Alabama. It was the law. Okay. So what happened at the Capitol was a lot of people that felt like this was true injustice. Like the country is in a situation where it's going to become true injustice. Now I need to fight back to protect my country type of thing. Cultural appropriation. I think cultural appropriation is an absurd concept. That just says cultural appropriation. Like cultural appropriation is a beautiful thing. It's beautiful. I like that about your culture. I'm going to use it. Okay. That's what America is supposed to be. America is supposed to be this melting pot, this beautiful like cornucopia of different ideas. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what's beautiful about it. And to say like, a white person can't wear dreads or something like that. Like, I don't know, Counting Crows had good songs. Like it's not the way that we should play this game. We should do this as, I love this beautiful stuff about your culture. I'm going to adopt some of that in my culture, and being in like a mixed race and cultural family. I see that. And I love the fact that my kids, on 4th of July, dress up in American flag stuff and eat hot dogs and stuff like that. But then we also do Buena Noche. My family's Filipino. So like Buena Noche, Noche Buena, I guess it is, where they have like Filipino hot chocolate and all that kind of stuff. Like they eat adobo. And I think that that's great. And I think that we can do that in my little mixed race family, but also we can do that just as a country. It's really, really rad. Had to send it to your DM too long. Oh, okay. I guess I got that. Do you believe there was no election fraud at all? No, I think there was election fraud. I think that's like saying, do you think there's no racism in police departments? So I'm going to go back to that comparison. Not because they're the same, but because they're both examples where both sides see it clearly and they see it differently. So is there no racism in police departments? No, there's racism in police departments for sure. Oh, I got my silver haircut coming out. But is there enough racism in police departments to, say that all of policing needs to get out and it's all bad? No. Was there voter fraud? I think every election is voter fraud. You look deep enough, you'll find it. That's why I like the Hunter Biden stuff. I wasn't surprised. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I'm like, yeah, that's politics. Sucks. I'm not saying it's good, but that's what politics is. Yes, I believe there is election fraud. I don't think it was enough to overturn the election. And that's based on, not me, based on our Supreme Court. The fact that Trump said, like, these are the people that I got into office, or I got into this position in the Supreme Court, and they turned their back on me. That's not the way this game is played. And I was saying, since like Brett Kavanaugh and, you know, all of them, and Neil Gorsuch and even the new woman, I forget her name, but what they do is interpret the Constitution. That's their job. Interpret the Constitution, not play the politics game. But we all want to play the politics game with them. Thoughts on Trump's Twitter banning? Do you feel this is part of the demise of the free speech? Okay, so same kind of question. Address that. I think it's a slippery slope. Google banning Parler from Google Play Store. Banning Parler. So Parler is one. I actually signed up for a Parler because I wanted to see it. I think I only follow one person. I think it's Peter Boghossian. I was on there for like 5 minutes, and like 3 or 4 people messaged me about like white supremacy, like outright like white supremacy stuff. Like, geez, Parler, I was surprised. I was like, wow, this is hardcore, like hateful stuff. What it is like these caged animals that just like, oh, I can't say anything. I can't say anything. So I'm gonna get out and go, oh, I'm gonna say it all, say the N-word and say terrible things about this and say I hate Jews or whatever it is. And they just like blah, let it all out. Really gross. But we need to allow that. That's what freedom of speech is. If Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that are going to be, if they are going to be open, like Section 230 stuff, like they can decide what to put out there, and they can't be forced, you know, to take things down or anything like that. It's like, you know, private company stuff. Then we're in this situation that's really, really troubling. If you just do free speech, everything, you get a lot of gross stuff. But just like speech out in the world, you get a lot of gross stuff. You get a lot of gross stuff. You get good stuff and gross stuff. That's the cool thing about what America is. But I think that banning Parler, look, I'm a history teacher. Prohibition doesn't work. Prohibition doesn't work. People who want to do things will do things. I live in California. We legalized weed. You don't think people were smoking weed in California before it was legalized? I mean, come on. It's not the way this stuff plays out. Okay. You ban Parler, there will be something else. Okay. So I don't think that's the move. Coordinated closure of apps, social media accounts, stuff like that. Kind of, you know, okay. So same kind of thing. Do you think that we were destined for this type of violence or anger, regardless of the election outcome? I do. We all know that this is coming. Remember November 3rd, everything was boarded up. I'm in LA, you know, all through Beverly Hills and downtown was all boarded up. Why? The thinking was if Trump wins, then the left is going to riot because that's typically who's been rioting throughout the summer. And it didn't happen. So unfortunately, yes, I think the violence and the anger and all that kind of stuff, which was not condemned really over the summer, just became the norm. And the right side is like, oh, you don't have to play by the rules, then I won't have to play by the rules either. And that's what happens. And I've been saying that a lot too, is equal application of the rules and law is a 14th Amendment thing. So if we say, oh, well, the left, when you see perceived injustice, you can break the rules, then the right's going to go, oh, then we can too. The censorship argument, private company versus monopoly that offers public services. Yeah, like, should this be a public utility? But then the problem with making social media a public utility is then it's in the control of the government. And you don't want Donald Trump, or you don't want, you know, Kamala Harris, or, you know, whoever it is. You don't want them having all that power. Like, that's a scary thing. I think it's good that we give government the monopoly on violence. You know, it sounds a weird thing to say, but like police are the only ones allowed to be violent. At least it's like concentrated somewhere, but not when it comes to expression. It can't be the government decides who can express what they need to express. Putting all that power in the hands of the government is not good. Government is not a thing, by the way. When I was teaching public school, I was a government employee. They're just people. Just people. They just go to work. That's all. They just go to work. They're just trying to do their job. They think we all have these blind spots. The government's not a thing. It's just individuals trying to do what they think is best. Is socialism a real threat? No. Look, socialism, the way that it's like, like in textbooks, isn't the threat. It's we already have a socialist nation to some degree. It's just incremental, more and more power into the government to take care of us. We abdicate responsibility. Okay. Why aren't you out helping homelessness? Or why aren't I? Why am I talking to my phone instead of going out and helping homelessness? It's a lot of it. I don't really want to. So can someone else just take care of that? Yeah, that's the government. That's how this happens. So I think socialism is a threat, but it's a threat because we are going to want it. The way to combat socialism is to do the job yourself. So if we decide to go out and do it ourselves, then it'll be less appealing. But we try to just, you just do it for me. You just do it for me. You just do it for me. I think that's a big thing. White supremacy. I don't believe in it just says white supremacy. I don't believe in white supremacy. I don't think that's valid. I just have, you just talk to too many people. Too many people are super diverse, and there's brilliance in all kinds of different things. I don't buy into that. I also really appreciate and respect the work you're doing. Oh, thank you. I want to know this because I want to know. Oh, I don't know what that. What's your take on people both sides only showing their point of view in the Capitol riots? It's everything I do. I don't know. It's frustrating. The national debt. National debt's an interesting one. It's racking up. A lot of it to China. Debt in and of itself is not necessarily bad, but if you make it simple, we are living beyond our means. It's always unpopular to cut programs, and it's always unpopular to raise taxes. So what do? We keep taxes the same or lower them, and then we don't touch the programs, and we just get more and more in debt. It's eventually going to catch up to us because what's going to happen is our dollar is going to lose value. Right now, American currency is the currency in the world. And at some point, it's not going to be because, look, here's the way I kind of explain to my class. And it might be wrong, check me on this. But like I say, you see a friend that you haven't seen in a while. And, you come back and like, these are my high school kids. They come back when they're in their 20s and they pull up in a brand new Lamborghini and they go, hop in, check this out. They drive through Malibu and they get to Malibu and this awesome beachfront house on Carbon Beach. And you get out and you have, popping bottles and having fun and, whatever, whatever. Jonas Brothers are there, whatever. I don't know. It's like cool. And you go, wow, how can you afford this? And they go, well, I took out a loan for the Lamborghini and a loan for the house it's leased. And I borrowed money from my uncle and I borrowed money from this credit union. I borrowed money from this bank and blah, 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 blah. And you go, wait a second. So you're not rich? No, it's all borrowed money. And then I borrow one credit card to pay off that credit card. And then I borrow from this relative to pay off my uncle. And so you shouldn't be living in Malibu. No, we're living beyond our means as a country. We're spending beyond our means. There are economists that know this far better than I do, but I would say that's I think it's something that we should be at least aware of, but it's not clear cut, but I think in simple terms, that's kind of what it is. Social media bans touch that. Exacerbation of big tech censorship and our shift to the technocratic, I guess, in the United States. This is something that, Rafa, it's a good question. This is something that, made by Jim Bob, who I've had on my podcast talk to. He talks about a lot, this technocratic kind of ruling thing. What's up, Clint? Yeah, I'm going to answer all these questions online. I have two more here and then I'll get to those. The exacerbation of the big tech censorship. I think that tech companies are the ones who are clearly going to be in charge. Okay. Like more in charge than the government. Look, when you see Jack Dorsey and with Sungin and Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know if I said the CEO of Google's name right, but we see them talking like Senate doesn't know what they're doing. The Senate asked the CEO of Google like why his iPhone wasn't working. He's like, that's not my product. So they're not really behind the wheel. Okay, they are supporting campaigns and all that kind of stuff. It's the big tech companies that are really behind the wheel. That's just like the Gilded Age. Rockefeller, Carnegie, Jay Gould, Vanderbilt, all of those. Should parliamentarian conservatives be censored the way that they currently are? No. Read Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt. There's nothing wrong with conservatives. Okay? Like you might be born with a more conservative brain. Nothing wrong with that. Conservative ideas are not bad. There are fringe conservative ideas that are horrible, and there's fringe liberal ideas or progressive ideas that are horrible. But no, they should not be attacked the way that they are. But of course they are, because if you look at the ratio of conservative to liberal professors on college campuses, it's 11-1. But then you go to the Ivy Leagues like Brown University's 30-1. 30-1. So they don't even know about the difference in morality, because it just is what it is. They're in just their echo chambers. But it's a problem. What do you think of Apple and Google going after Parler? Same thing. Section 230. Oh, okay. So Section 230, in a way, my freshman high schooler can understand. So I believe I should look at these ahead of time. Section 230 is the thing that opens up, that stops the government from essentially limiting what goes out on the internet. So this would be like big government taking over big tech to some degree and telling them what they can and can't do. Double-edged sword, because we need to wrangle in these social media companies. Clearly, they're way too powerful. But how to do that is tricky. It's one of the reasons why we need someone like Andrew Yang. Even if you disagree with his politics, Andrew Yang at least understands tech. So there are ways out of this, but we need to find a way out of it. So Section 230 basically protects these social media companies to do what they want to do. And it's so hard now to open up a new social media company. Parler tried, but even now they're getting limited. And what that is the same way that John Rockefeller would go to the other oil refineries and smash them. That's what this is. So those are my questions. So I'm going to go back to the ones online. Sorry. Big tech needs to be legal. Okay, this is good. Okay. Do we fight against all lobbying? No, lobbying is good. Lobbying is good. And what's happening though is now, here's a cool one. Okay, lobbying is really important because both sides should have lobbying. But when the big companies kind of hedge their bets with the establishment, the establishment Republicans and the establishment Democrats, then we, the normal people, we like the average Americans just don't have a say. And that's why, if you look at the statistics on the likelihood that a bill gets passed, it's all been done. Like you can see, and Lawrence Lessig does stuff on this too, but you can see that whether or not the population supports an idea has very little to whether or not it gets passed. That's a problem. That's the problem. The Democrats used to be a party of the working class, and they're not anymore. They're not. They're a party of the identities. A Pia Milani idea, Eric Weinstein's wife, and she's also a very well-accredited economist. But this idea that the Democrats went from the party of labor, saying all right, we got to look out for the workers, and the conservatives being the party of the elites, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. The wealthy, the educated, maybe they should have some control over things because they kind of know what they're doing. Okay. And then the Alexander Hamilton side, but then there's a Thomas Jefferson side, which was the Democrats then, up until the 1990s, which is hey, we got to look out for the working class. But if you look out for the working class, you got to get stuff. You got to get better working hours. You got to get better working conditions. So what's cheaper? What's easier to get done than labor? Identity. Now, all you got to do is say, hey, Vietnamese people, I like you. Let's protect Vietnamese people. And that's it. That's it. That's all the Democrats are doing. It's all just speak. I was talking to someone yesterday who's Joe Biden said, he's going to be there for Black communities and stuff like that. It's yeah, of course he's going to say that. That's the Democrats do. They say that they see you and they represent you and Black Lives Matter and, and Brown Lives Matter and all that kind of stuff. But they don't actually do anything that's going to help them, or very little, because they don't have to. They just have to give those. And this is not the ideas of me. This is the idea of people who are very, very progressive. It's weird. There's center, and then there's the progressives that I don't see eye to eye with. But then you go with the really progressives, and there's a section of them that I do. Someone like Killer Mike is pretty progressive, and I think he's spot on about a lot of things. I had Tesla Figaro on my podcast. Progressive in a lot of the ways that's about actually getting things done, but not woke. Does it sound like real progress? Okay. Oh, hey, what's up, Clint? Spread of dangerous conspiracy theories. Right. Okay. Right. So that's QAnon stuff. Okay, conspiracy theories are really interesting. I thought Andrew Schultz did a great job on his special. Andrew Schultz Saves America. Really good about conspiracy theories, because the tricky thing about conspiracy theories is a lot of them turn out to be true, and the CIA admits it like 50 years later. So where do we draw the line for what is conspiracy theory and what is true? Because some of this stuff sounds crazy and then it's true. You look up like Operation Paperclip or Operation Northwoods, which was like a plan, didn't go through, but that's like nuts. Like shooting down American airliners so they can blame it on Cuba and go to war with Cuba. Like this is stuff that our government talks about. The Gulf of Tonkin didn't happen. That's what got us into Vietnam. The explosion of the USS Maine didn't happen. That's what got us into the Spanish-American War. Like the Boston Massacre did not go down the way that Paul Revere showed it, but it got us into a war. So this is continuous, and you see this in history. So how do you know what's a conspiracy and what's not? And what you have to do is you sit down and you talk about it. You don't ban Alex Jones. You sit Alex Jones down with Michael Shermer, and you have Michael Shermer rip them apart. You sit Alex Jones down with a brilliant, a professor, and you shut him down. I said it would be really cool to have an assignment for my history or my civics class to say, rip apart Alex Jones. That's what you do. Bring a QAnon person, sit them down, give them a platform. I would love, if you're a QAnon, let's talk. Let's do an Instagram Live. Because I would love to do that. It's the same reason I would love to have a conversation with someone in the KKK or the neo-Nazis or something like that. I don't think it takes much to smash that. Apply it to flat Earth. How hard is it to smash flat Earth? Not hard at all. But when you censor it, when you say you can't post about flat Earth, then they go, oh, then I'm onto something. I'm going to go underground and post about it. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Talk to these people, give them platforms. MSNBC should say, hey, we have the head of QAnon here, or a top QAnon person, and you sit them down with some super genius who's like credible, and you just rip them apart. Whatever. Get Sam Harris to sit down with someone from QAnon, put it on all major channels, put it on CNN. That's what it takes to shut down QAnon. Not shutting them down and silencing their voice. That's why I'm trying to talk to everybody. Sorry, I get fired up. But that's a great question, but that's what I would say. Good to see you, man. It's not from the right, bro. No, it's not just from the right, for sure. I just think it needs to allow all ideas and just encourage those. Yes. And how do you know what are good ideas and what are bad ideas? The only way is through figuring it out. Especially that's why I always say seek disconfirmation. So you seek disconfirmation. You have a conspiracy theory. Try to prove it wrong. And if you can't, then it might be real. That's like I have these tenets I just say over and over again. I'm hoping you guys are getting them because I think it's a way out. I think the Democratic Party will still represent the working class better. They might be. That's a good point. Number one Savage. Oh, I talked to you before. What's going on, man? That's a great point. Is I talked to Michaela Bearpaw, who's a Native American woman on my podcast, and she was saying that she's very almost like anarchist, very right wing, no government, hates government, because her ideology, her thinking is the government has not been good to my people. You know what I mean? Trust the government. I'm Native American. That didn't work. No. She said, but she's like, Bernie Sanders goes to reservations. He goes to reservations. So at least he says it. He says that. Just even representing, just saying it sometimes helps. Trump, I said this before. I talked to someone who was from West Virginia or South Carolina or something. I asked him why they voted for Trump. He's like, look, I knew he was a Yankee. I knew he was a buffoon. I knew that he was a reality show star, but he said that I'm not a bad guy. And the Democrats have always said I'm a bad guy. I'm a hardworking guy. He was like a truck driver or something like that. He's like, I work really hard. I take care of my family. Why am I a victim? Why am I the bad guy in this whole thing? Why am I, privileged or something? When I work 80 hours a week, I'm away from my family. At least Trump's saying hey, I see you. So there is something to that, to the Democrats doing that. And if they see you and they're talking to you, at least not just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, then it's something, you know? Yes, Tulsi Gabbard mentioned that it's a lot of like just theater. Well, yeah, it is political theater for sure. Okay. Oh, cool. Cool conversation going on here, though. Okay. There's any other questions or anything like that? I'll take them. But that's kind of where I'm at. But you are not, by any stretch, you are not like powerless in this situation. Okay. What we do is we try to conduct ourselves, and we can be the same way that no drop of rain feels responsible for the flood. It works in reverse so that we can do it. And I keep saying this stuff. Yeah, good to see you. I keep saying these same three things over and over again. Engage with people with intellectual humility. Like, I might be wrong. I think this, but I might be wrong. Like, and you don't just, you think this, I might be wrong. Intellectual humility. Genuine curiosity. This one should be easy. You are curious, right? Why could you possibly think this is a good idea? But instead of being like, why would you think that this is a good idea? You go, why would you think this is a good idea? You just change the inflection a little bit. Be curious. You have something to learn from people. That's a Jordan Peterson rule, I think. Like, go into every interaction, like you could learn something from that person. I think that's a really good one. So have some genuine curiosity. So intellectual humility, genuine curiosity. And the last thing is grace. Okay. Pausing judgment, giving people the benefit of the doubt. Okay. If we are able to do that, this little, a following that I have, it sounds so weird to say that, but like, we're all in this together. I'm just putting my face out there. But we're all in this together. And if we can do that and grow that idea out, it resonates across political lines. It'll be where we're going to end up anyway. We just have to, let's try to avoid reinventing the wheel. If this gets really, really bad, these culture wars get really, really bad, and bombs start going off, that the left leaves, the right starts, setting off bombs, blowing up this, blowing up that, attacking this, attacking that. We're already kind of in an ideological civil war. The way out of it is to reinvent America. That's the way out of this stuff. Do I see a point in trying to impeach Trump? No. Stop. Let him just go away so we can move on. He's not going to go away. Maybe not. But no, don't just. These people feel like victims. They have a victim mentality, oddly enough, even though they probably send a lot of Candace Owens. Okay. When someone has a victim mentality, don't make them into more of a victim. Just let him transition. We're 12 days away. Come on. No. Do I think mainstream media is partially responsible? Oh, I think it's all responsible. Yeah, media is the problem. Listen to Matt Taibbi. Matt Taibbi is a brilliant journalist, and he is pretty spot on about this stuff. How do you know what you know? Have you, I talked to my students, I'm like, have you ever seen the pyramids in Giza? No, then how do you know that they exist? Well, I've seen pictures and stuff. It's like, yeah, my kids watch Jurassic Park. Does that mean dinosaurs exist? Like, how do you know? So when the media is all from one kind of vantage point, they're all they're part of this crew that I keep saying has been it's like a affirmative action of ideologically possessed and well-connected people, that they're all coming from one vantage point. Mainstream media, it's absolutely a problem, but it's not just mainstream media. It's this independent media too. It's the meme pages on the left and the right that are firing everyone up. So it's not just CNN. It's not just New York Times. Those are the problem, but because they're like real, but they're not real. They're not. They're just as messed up and everything like that as everyone else. The problem is divisive media and the lack of intellectually humble media. That, I think, is the big problem. Do I think some progressive activists have a strong cult following? Yes, some progressive activists absolutely have a cult following. And I know this because if I say something negative about Ibram Kendi or Rachel Cargill, I get a mob, like 100 people, telling me all kinds of stuff. People who Google me, look me up, write letters to my school saying that I'm a racist, sexist, pedophilic, homophobe. You should fire this guy, all kinds of stuff. Absolutely a mob following. Yeah, absolutely. And Trump has a mob following too, but this is absolutely a mob following. Okay. Oh, you too, Grant. We talk. That's it. I'm gonna post this on my feed. I know it's not ideal for Instagram. I don't know how many people watch long things on Instagram. It's just funnier to see whatever David Dobrik throw a pie in someone's face. But I'm using it for that. Same way that Mr. Rogers used television for something good. I'm trying to use social media for something good, and we'll see what happens. But appreciate all of you guys. And if I can just push those 3 things on you, okay, as a teacher, I'm going to try and influence you to have those 3 things. I think those are some pretty good pillars to go out into the world with for those of you that are really struggling. Okay, you can still hold to your beliefs, but just soften up a little bit. What truth and what is good and what is true will emerge. So we got to understand one another a little bit better. But thank you guys. I'm gonna keep posting stuff on here. I'm gonna keep doing these. Your support means so much. It really truly does. And I'm okay putting my flaws out there. I'm stumbling my way through this, and you guys are coming along for the stumble, and I really appreciate you guys. Okay, take care.
Lemlitivimab. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to spell it without writing it down. VAMLANIVIMAB. See if that was right.